Hello and welcome to Not Now in Theaters. My name is Will Turntail and I'm a writer and film fan from California. This week's episode is all about Rolling Thunder. It's a cult classic late 1970s revenge film directed by John Flynn with William Devane and Tommy Lee Jones. I'd heard about this movie a number of times and I read a lot about it in Quentin Tarantino's book Cinema Speculation. It's been an influential movie for that filmmaker and many others, but it scared and angered the living hell out of test audiences, which I'll definitely get into why. And the original script was written by the one and only Paul Schrader, screenwriter of course, Taxi Driver, among others. So you know you're in for some darker themes here with him involved, and I can't wait to unpack them for you. Before we start, a reminder that making films is hard and you have to respect that, so any criticisms are meant to be constructive. Also, this review will contain spoilers, and I'll do my best to call them out for you as they come up. Okay, let's get into it. Rolling Thunder 1977 review, Vetsploitation Taxi Driver. Rolling Thunder is an explosive revenger film with a subtle buildup. The film breaks a soldier into pieces only to, after he's glued himself together, shatter him into angry fragments. Written by the legendary Paul Schrader and rewritten by Heywood Gould, the movie depicts a prisoner of war returned from Vietnam only to find, as the poster tells you, a terrifying new war at home. Rolling Thunder draws comparisons to Schrader's masterpiece, Taxi Driver, and you don't need a microscope to uncover the common threads. In fact, the original script for Rolling Thunder was a companion piece to Taxi, including a cameo appearance from Travis Bickle, that film's anti-hero. But this is no retread. Taxi is zeroed in on Travis's disgust with the ills of urban New York, driving him to madness. Thunder's Major Charles Rane faces a different shell shock. After 7 years of prison torture where he, quote, learned to love the rope, he returns to placid Texas society and his estranged wife and child. Thunder is not as widely renowned as Taxi Driver, but it remains a cult classic. You can see its strong 81% critic and 77% audience scores on Rotten Tomatoes, as an example. But in the shock department, Rolling Thunder stands Taxi Driver's equal. According to William Goldman's book Adventures in the Screen Trade, the 1970s preview audiences lost their absolute shit over this film. Goldman called it the most violent sneak reaction of recent years. The audience actually got up and tried to physically abuse the studio personnel present among them. And when audiences go berserk like that, we've got to jump in and see the cause. So is Rolling Thunder a good movie? The plot of Rolling Thunder. In 1973, after 7 years as prisoners of war, Major Charles Rane, along with his fellow captive Master Sergeant Johnny Voden, return home to Texas. But soon Rane wonders what exactly he's returning home to. And it's not just that women in a feminist moment don't wear bras anymore. His wife Janet Rane reveals she's formed a relationship with Deputy Cliff Nichols. Rane's young son Mark has no memory of his father. Meanwhile, young Linda Forshea, a self-professed Charles Rane groupie, vies for his attention. But when a shocking home invasion turns into the murder of Charles's wife and child, he tells the police nothing. He takes revenge into his own hands, one that is now a sharpened metal hook. Can Charles find the men who killed his family and left him for dead? And to walk you quickly through the cast here, Major Charles Rane is played by William Devane. Sergeant Johnny Voden is played by Tommy Lee Jones. Janet Rane is played by Lisa Blake Richards. Deputy Cliff Nichols is played by LaRossin Driscoll. Linda Forshea is played by Linda Haynes. Mark is played by Jordan Gerler. And you can read the rest of the main cast here in the transcript. And if you wanted to see a trailer for Rolling Thunder, check out the one in the quote links in this episode section at the bottom of the transcript. I also have YouTube links to movie clips and interviews there, along with any IMDb screen caps I reference in this episode. So let's get into what I liked about this movie. The first piece is what I'll call those striking but subtle performances, and awarded 6 points. William Devane's turn as Major Charles Rane is numb, but in a helpful way. Before he becomes a new model of Captain Hook, a not-for-the-kiddos breed of major pain, Charlie is dealing with some significant issues. 7 years of being punched in the gut in a Hanoi prison will do that to a man. But he doesn't want to talk about it. He doesn't want to show the scars to friends, family, or neighbors. Hell, Charlie doesn't even take his sunglasses off when he's reunited with his family. The trauma? He keeps that buried. Yet with Devane's performance, we can still see it slipping through. Instead of boilerplate, shell-shocked, shaking hands, fits of crying or hysteria, it's just there, underneath it all. When his wife Janet confesses her affair to Charlie, he coldly sucks on his cigarette and tells her he's too tired to keep talking about it. She wants that emotional release from him, perhaps, but there's nothing to give. He'll just sit there until it goes away, he says. Everything does. He's a stranger in a once familiar world, gone back to when he was alive, but like a walking semi-coma. You think maybe he's just too cool, a dashing pilot who, again, keeps his sunglasses on indoors. But perhaps that's just to hide the light of the world, which, for him, has gone out. And then perhaps the film's strongest scene, when he orders Cliff to bind his hands and torture him, a morbid demonstration, Devane is full of intensity, yelling out to Cliff to push it higher until he can hear the bones snap. It's more the truth than the bullshit he spews when he arrives back home, talking jingoistically about how the whole experience made me a better American, to keep up appearances. Tommy Lee Jones gives a similar trick as Johnny. Jones shines when he speaks with Charlie on the plane home. Rane tries to comfort him in what I feel is the old American way. Johnny says he can't face all the people at the airport who turned up to welcome him home, and Rane tells him to just put on his sunglasses. If we look closely, we can see Johnny's fear behind the glasses while he stands in front of everyone, the editing lingering just that perfect little bit. But Johnny has his courage and qualities too. He's all giddy up, just a man of sheer duty and honored principle, when Rane recruits him to kill off the men who murdered his family. Grabbing his dog tags and shotgun, suiting up in his uniform, Johnny's ready for the Major's command at a moment's notice. But Johnny's young and simple when the script gives him a decisive moment, saying a very pointed goodbye and I love you, Daddy, to his father before setting out for a whorehouse and revenge. Words Johnny understands the subtext of, but his father doesn't, just in case he never comes back. And Linda Haynes, as Linda Forshea, gives all the emotion that Raines hides. I didn't understand her fascination with the Major at first, but thanks to her performance, I figured it out. Raines was a placeholder in her life. He was an image of some kind of heroic man of her dreams that she could hold on to, the man she had always hoped to find but could not. But she does a bit more than just stand in as a love interest and sidekick. She's skilled with a rifle and forward about her interest in Rane in a charming way. You have to respect her as a character, as a woman. Linda is a lot more than a shoulder to not cry on, and it's thanks in large part to Haynes' performance. Next up, let's talk about the film's impressive shootouts, which are worth 3 points. Alright, there's no bullet time, gun fu, blast away shootouts in this film. Buildings don't explode. But when it's time for Charles to bring his hooked brand of justice, he flips the badass switch. If you're in his firing line, you will tell him what he wants to know. If you're involved in the death of his wife and son, this hook's for you. It's an older, simpler brand of shotguns and revolvers at close quarters, and sometimes that less stylized, realistic brand of action can hit you in the jaw. Though what's funny is that there are some pretty gory ideas in this movie, like grinding a man's hand off in a garbage disposal, but not much embellishment by today's standards. They cover Charlie's hand with a towel when the nasty work is done, and we don't see the extreme leakage of blood you would imagine the situation would make. I wonder how those 1970s test audiences would have reacted to the level of visceral violence in films now. Yeah. Now we have to discuss the film's depiction of a 1970s America, which is worth 3 points. There's a scene where Charlie is jump roping in his shed in a t-shirt and jeans, taking a break to sip what I think is a beer when Cliff offers him one. And like Clint Eastwood jogging in full-on, no doubt stifling blue jeans and every which way but loose, I find this jump roping in possible Levi's emblematic of the down-home moment. This is a world far removed from our athleisure and protein bar-driven fitness lives of today. This is the 1970s, a seemingly grittier time of fewer fabric options. But more importantly, many films focus on cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and others, or they transport you to the Bumpusville stereotype of somewhere in the Bible Belt. Here, San Antonio is like a small town. You can see the era, neighbors knowing neighbors, community coming together to welcome back a man from overseas with a crowd full of banners at the airport. Could you rally your school to welcome back a war hero today? Probably. But getting your entire community off TikTok to pay respect to a soldier? I doubt it. And there's that transporting nature to this movie in its locations on either side of the US-Mexican border that preserves the film's context. And it makes the horror of the home invasion all the more haunting. Like the appreciation for the sleepy innocence of the setting in John Carpenter's Halloween, these gentle suburban sidewalks haven't seen any blood on them. Until now. And the setting makes the shocking violence even more startling. So now let's get into what I thought could have been improved in this movie. First up, let's call this one Disgust Me With Your Villains, and we'll take away 2 points for this. Attacking Charlie and his family in their home was enough to permanently scar 1970s test audiences, but I craved more evil flavor for the goons Rane needed to hunt down. We get a sense of the thugs' lives as the film progresses, but they initially come across as raucous criminals, a bad bunch up to no good. I wanted a taste of the specifics. I wanted to see more of the criminals' misdeeds so that Rane's takedown felt even more captivating and justified. If a hero is only as good as the villain they oppose, well, give me more of these creeps' villainous natures. And now let's get into what I'm calling tampering with my Schrader valve, which will remove 3 points. And a warning that there are some heavy spoilers here, so if you don't want to hear them, this is the last constructive criticism I have, so just use the chapter skip. In many revenge films, the build-up to the revenge story typically lasts around 20 minutes. Whatever the protagonist stands to lose, be it family members or the family dog, that exposition is crammed into a tight space just long enough to make audiences care and root for the hero's retribution, which is supposed to be the thrilling stuff. Rolling Thunder stretches this what's to avenge period to approximately 20-30 minutes, but other than that, it follows the same formula. And it's to the film's detriment. While Charlie's journey of revenge is entertaining and capable, the story was hooked into many threads of drama before dropping them all and shifting into find and kill mode. Charlie and his wife were estranged. She had essentially moved on to another man, and I was curious how they would deal with it. But even stranger, he knows this man. It's Cliff. It's a guy he's happy to tap beer cans with and talk shop to. He's a police officer, a fellow man of service. And Rane's son Mark has to figure out how to handle the confusion of his father's return with the living step-in father, Cliff, around. Then there's the flirty and forward Linda Forshé. How will Rane take to her advances? Is he going to create an open marriage with Janet, where they share their child Mark but take on their own partners? Only the question of Rane's potential romance with Linda Forshé gets answered. Everybody else? Well, they die off. All these threads are not even left dangling, they're cut. Still, Cliff could have been salvaged in another way. We watch Cliff try to join in Charlie's revenge, only to find the bad guys himself and, outnumbered, take some bullets. This too is wasted potential. Cliff could have joined in with Charlie and eventually Johnny. And how compelling and fractious this could be. A man married to a woman and the man who became her affair team up to track down the men who killed her and the child they had both loved. It's worth mentioning that writer Paul Schrader disowned this movie, calling it a fascist film. He said the studio changed his original vision, and what he got is not what he intended. He says that the original explored ideas about racism and alienation differently from the movie, and that the film got more exploitative. And while I don't know the truth of the edits or the original, perhaps this is why the movie became, quote, vetsploitation revenge fare instead of a film with the depth of, say, Taxi Driver. So adding it all up, Rolling Thunder comes up with 7 points. On my scale of let's not watch, should I watch, or go watch this movie, I've got to give Rolling Thunder my should I watch rating. At a preview screening of Rolling Thunder for psychiatrists to learn what so disturbed the audience in test screenings, director John Flynn said they determined it was because of all the violence happening within Major Raines' family home. And that's where Thunder sets itself apart. Out there in the city of New York, Taxi Driver's Travis Bickle is losing his mind, his disappointment boiling into violent actions. But in Rolling Thunder, we see the wreckage of civilian life in the good old United States of suburbia. I wish a deeper exploration of Charlie's loss and disengagement hadn't been sidestepped in favor of an aggressive revenge, and I wonder what this film could have been. Still, Charlie's story is more entertaining than awful. There are some wicked scenes of Charlie coming back for his revenge, sharpened hook style. And the older school of violence has its merits, especially with its subtle yet engaging performances. I can't endorse Rolling Thunder as an absolute classic like some critics and audiences have. Still, it's worth a watch for cult movie lovers, especially fans of Paul Schrader. The legacy of Rolling Thunder. So what is the legacy of Rolling Thunder? Well, it definitely became a cult classic film, with the internet evoking memories of 1980s and 1990s home video and midnight screenings. Filmmaker and critic Quentin Tarantino appears to be deeply enamored with this movie. He's got a chapter devoted to it in his book Cinema Speculation, if you've read that. He even founded a company called Rolling Thunder Pictures to release cult films. So surely this movie has an influence on the guy's career as well. As a Vietnam veteran returning home and dealing with the trauma, well, this movie predates the Stallone-powered First Blood, and you would imagine it had some influence on that movie. You can slot it into the canon of films dealing with the fallout of the Vietnam War. And as a revenge movie, it's right there with, say, Death Wish from 1974. Revenge is older than Shakespeare, but it was a common theme in the 1970s. Maybe that's an entire paper somebody has written, but you would think it could have to do with the police and governmental corruption at that time. I write that as if that doesn't exist in our time, which is laughable. However, the 1970s also produced films like the original Walking Tall, a small-town justice movie, and Dirty Harry, a vigilante cop film. And you might even tuck in Ms. 45, an Abel Ferrara movie about a rape revenge I've yet to see, just there in the early 1980s. Although Paul Schrader reportedly disowned the movie due to the changes made to his script, the film still shares many of the same emotional issues as Taxi Driver and aligns overall with his explorations. So it is a film in his overall canon, even if he's dissatisfied with what it became. And you can see Rolling Thunder's continued popularity in its recent releases. There was a Studio Canal Blu-ray and DVD in the UK in January of 2012, and Shout Factory had a US release in May 2013. Strangely, director John Flynn also helmed 1973's neo-noir crime film The Outfit, based on Richard Stark's novel of the same name. And when Richard Stark's novel The Hunter was made into the Mel Gibson film Payback in 1999, William Devane, who played Major Charles Rane here, played Carter in that film. So there's some kind of weird double Richard Stark adaptation connection going on in Rolling Thunder. If you're wondering what the title refers to, that would be Operation Rolling Thunder, a 3-year aerial bombardment campaign by the US and its allies in Vietnam. And yeah, I don't think that retro run-and-gun video game franchise, also known as Rolling Thunder, has any relation. Okay, that's all I have for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. And if you haven't seen it yet, I hope that you'll go out and watch Rolling Thunder. And if you have seen it, what do you think of the movie? You can reach out and let me know on Blue Sky using the link in the transcript. Or you can search for Will Turntail on Blue Sky. And if you like this episode, please don't be shy and be generous. Take a minute or two of your time to leave me a review wherever you're listening from. I'm the only one that puts this show together, so just 1 to 2 minutes of your time would really help me out, and I'd love to hear what you think of the show. Or if you're listening on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe. New episodes of this podcast come out on Tuesdays. Next week's episode is likely to be the Stuart Gordon science fiction film Fortress, starring Christopher Lambert from Highlander and Kurtwood Smith from RoboCop. So we'll be stepping into a movie that honestly got a wide theatrical release but feels more like a cult B movie. So tune in for that one. This podcast episode is production copyright of Overegged Media, LLC, located in Sacramento, California. Reference photos linked in the transcript are copyrighted by the Internet Movie Database. This review's factual information was gathered through online sources like Wikipedia, IMDb, or interviews. Misrepresentations and errors are possible, but unintentional. Introduction music, exit music, and additional music are all by Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com, and they are all licensed under Creative Commons by Attribution 4.0 license. The names of those songs are Neon Laser Horizon, Voxel Revolution, Southern Gothic, and Aerosol of My Love. Goodbye for now.